We currently have a document open, and if I look up at my title bar at the very top of my screen, I can see the name of the document is Document 1. If I'm working on Document 1 but then need to open up another new piece of paper or a new document, one of the buttons we added to our Quick Access toolbar was this one. When I rest on this button is designed to create a new blank document. And so if I click it, I end up with a second document. And I'll just bring it into view. And this document, if I look at the top of my screen, is Document 2. Also, I notice down here, I've got the ability to switch to Document 1 or Document 2. If I wanted to use a shortcut key to open up a new document, then as I rest on this button, it mentions that Control-N is the shortcut key to create a new blank document. So I'm going to hold the Control key and tap the N. And I'll bring it into view. And here's my third document, Document 3, written at the very top in the title bar. I also have a Document 3 listed here. Now sometimes you'll end up with three buttons side by side, Document 1, Document 2, Document 3, and sometimes you don't. You end up with one button that just has the little word symbol that you see to the left. And what you have to do is you have to rest on that button and you'll get what they call peekaboo, just like this is showing, where it pops up three documents. And you can choose to go to that one, or that one. And you just move across the peekaboo and click. So that's another way to move between the documents you have open. And you can be multitasking and having many documents open. Another way to move between the documents you have open is to go to the View tab in the ribbon and use the Switch Windows button. When you use the Switch Windows button, you can move to Document 2. You can go back to View, back to Switch Windows, and Document 3. You can go back to View, back to Switch Windows, and back to Document 1. Now that's a bit tedious to have to keep going back to View. So one of the things I want you to know is with regards to the Quick Access toolbar, if you think that there's a button that would be useful to add to your Quick Access toolbar, such as this button, you can right-click it and add it to your Quick Access toolbar. I'm going to right-click the Switch Windows button and then left-click Add to Quick Access toolbar. And now I have this button showing here, which means I can now click this option, switch to Document 2, hit this option, switch to Document 3, and click this option and switch to Document 1, which I actually find is quicker than having to go to View every single time. So any buttons that sort of spin your wheels and you think would be quite useful, you can right-click them and add them to your Quick Access toolbar. If you want to remove them, you can right-click them and remove them from your Quick Access toolbar as well. But I'm going to right-click and add it to my Quick Access toolbar. So this starts to grow as we discover more and more useful buttons. So we now know how to create a new blank document using either the button or using the shortcut key. You can go to File and you can go to New and you can go to Blank Document, but it's so much slower to do it that way. And here's Document 4. And I'll just switch back to Document 1. So I now have 4 documents open. You can have a number of blank documents open, you can be moving between those documents, and then you may need to close the documents. So what I'd like to do is switch back to Document 4, and to close it, again there's a variety of ways. You could hit the X in the top right corner, which is what most people do, and close that way. If I then switch to Document 3, another way I could close is to rest down below here on my peekaboo, and then go to Document 3 and actually hit the X here and close it that way. If I then, so that's Document 4 and Document 3 closed. If I then switch to Document 2, I could go to File and I could go close that way, but I won't. I could also use a shortcut key, Control W. Control W is used to close a window, and if you really want to get fast at any software application, then you need to learn the shortcut keys. So I'm going to press Control W, and straight away Document 2 is closed. I had 4 documents open, and now when I go to switch windows, I only have 1 document open, and I'm happy about that. So we can open new documents, we can move between documents, and we can close documents. Now what I want to look at is the page setup with regards to this document, document 1. I can tell by looking at my horizontal and my vertical rulers that my margins are 2 centimeters, and we did that in an earlier exercise. I'm now going to ask us to change the margins to 1 centimeter. So I double click the grey part of the ruler and I can see my margins, top, bottom, left and right, are 2. So I'll set my top margin to 1 and then I'll press the tab key. And I'll go 1, tab, 1, tab, 1. You don't have to type centimeters. That's assumed. And you can use the tab key to go forward and the shift tab to go backwards. When I click OK or press enter is the same as clicking OK. When I press enter, I can see my margins have been reduced to 1 centimeter. So we've changed our margins. Now the other thing I need to do with regards to page setup is I need to create a gutter. A gutter is if you know that you're going to bind a document and you need to allow for spiral binding or thermal binding or wire binding. Let's have a look. I'm going to double click the dark part of my ruler. My gutter is currently on 0 centimeters because I haven't got a gutter. I've got a preview down here which I can use to watch what happens, and I'm just going to slowly increase the gutter. I'm at 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, and now I start to see what's happening on the left hand side of my preview. A gutter is an amount of space that you're allowing in addition to the left margin to bind, so that the binding doesn't cut through the words in the document. And so here is a gutter of 1 centimeter. So in fact what I'm going to end up with when I go enter or OK is I'm going to end up with 2 centimeters on the left hand side of my document. 1 centimeter being the gutter and 1 centimeter being the left margin. So it's going to be 2. And I'll go OK. And so that's why it looks like 2 centimeters there. So a gutter is allowing for binding so that it doesn't cut through your words. If I double click the page setup, I also need to ensure that printing is done on both sides of the page. So where we have multiple pages normal, I'm going to switch this to mirror margins. Now when I do this, left and right are going to change to inside and outside. Mirror margins, and there's my inside and outside margins, because now what we're doing is printing on both sides of the paper, and so we're really talking about the gutter being on the inside margin, and then we're talking about the outside margin, which for an odd page is going to be the left, and for an even page is going to be the right. So that's how you can mirror your margins. The other option you've got in here, of course, is landscape. So if I choose landscape, I'm actually going to be printing widthways rather than portrait. So you've got that option as well. I'll just go OK. And so that's my page setup basically done. Now what I'd like to do is save this particular document to a certain location. So on our quick access toolbar we have 2 buttons. We have save and we have save as. Now because we've never saved this document before, when you hit save you'll be thrown into save as. So it doesn't matter if you hit the save button or the save as button, because either way you're going to end up in save as. So I might just hit the save button to show you that you end up in save as, which is here. The computer doesn't know what to save the document as because you've never saved it before. So I want to save it, and I'm going to browse and I'm going to choose desktop. So I want to save it as the location desktop. And you just choose what location you want to save it to by clicking. I'm going to save it as the desktop, and I'm going to give it the file name, not this. So I click it, I delete it, and I'm going to call it favorites. And save. So the file is going to have the name favorites, it's going to be a Word document, and it's saved on the desktop. And save. What I then see at the very top of my screen in my title bar is the file name favorites. You may see the full stop docx, you may not. It just depends on your Windows, but you will see the favorites, and that's the main thing. So having saved the file, I may add some more text, for example. Now, if I want to save it to a different location or with a different name or with a different file format, then I would hit Save As. The reason being, if I hit Save now, and that's this button here, or Control S, it will just save the file as favorites. No questions asked. Each time I click it, I don't get asked anything. It just saves. If I want to save this file as a different name or in a different place, that's when you use Save As, because Save As will ask you. Save will just save it. Save As will ask you, what do you want to save it as? And here it is here. So I might decide, actually this one I want to save as a different location, and that's Documents. This one I don't want to call Favorites, I want to call it Favorites 2. And I'll save. So I've saved it in a different location, Documents, and I've given it a different file name, and save. And as a consequence, Favorite 2 appears up the top in my title bar. So I now have two documents. One's called Favorites, and that's on my desktop, and one called Favorites 2, which is in my Documents. So the difference between Save and Save As is whether you actually get asked what do you want to save it as. And then we have the option, if necessary, to save it as a different format. Now the Save As has got a shortcut. So I could click this button again, or notice it says F12. There's a row of function keys on your keyboard, F1, F2, F3, F4, and so on. And the last one is F12, so I'm going to press F12 because it's a fast way to do a Save As. It takes you straight to here. Now what I want to do is I want to save it as the desktop. I want to call it Favorites List. And I want to save it as a different format, not a Word document, but as a PDF. These are all different formats you can save your document as. And PDF stands for Portable Document Format. And a PDF can pretty much be read by anybody. So I'll click Save, and it will automatically open the file after it's saved it. So I let it save it, and then I wait for it. And I'll just adjust my screen so that you can see it, and here it is here. So that saved it automatically as a PDF file called Favorites List. And anybody can read a PDF file. They don't have to have Word, and they don't have to have Word 2016. And I'll close that. So if you want to save your changes, just hit the Save button, no questions asked, or Control S. If you want to have some say in where it's saved to and what it's called, hit the Save As button. The Save As button takes you to here, and so does F12. And from here, you can choose the location on the left, a file name here, and a type here. And I'll just go Cancel. Having saved the file, you may then want to print the file, and we added two buttons to our Quick Access toolbar to do this. The Quick Print, no questions asked, one copy sent straight to the printer, and it mentions in brackets that for me, it will send it to my default printer, which is my PhotoSmart. If I want to see what's going to print, I'll go into Print Preview. If you click Print Preview, then you can actually check what's going to print. And I can see down here, I'm seeing page 1 of 5, and I can move between the pages that will print. I can say how many copies I want, I can choose the printer, and I can hit Print, and that will print the document. If I go out of here, the next thing I want to show you is how do you exit out of Word. Well, you hit the X in the top right corner, and that will throw you completely out of Word. If there are any documents unsaved, it will tell you. To open Word, I'm going to go back to my programs and open up Microsoft Word. And it will open, and I just have to resize it for this video. If I want to open some of my existing documents, we have added a button here called Open. And that will allow us to open any files that we've recently created. This is my recent collection. These are the files I've made today, And I can open up favorites too, just by clicking it. And that will open up a file that I've recently created, and particularly today. And I'll size it so you can see. There are some options in Word that you might be interested in knowing about. I will cover these in the next video.